It's time for your call sheet, where we look at the topics driving the trading day ahead. The crew members today: Stephanie Guild of Robinhood, Marta Norton of Empower, and Marc Short of Advancing American Freedom, also former Legislative Affairs Director in the first Trump White House, and here on set. It's great to have you all here. Let's see how much we can get through. We're very tight on time. My apologies for that. Stephanie, I'll kick it off with you. OpenAI, we had this Wall Street Journal report overnight, but in general, a lot of news around this and how it radiates out to the broader tech trade.
I'm not sure it was that surprising, just given the fact that the company has sort of been, I think, testing what the direction of the company is going to be and whether they'll focus on enterprise or consumer. They're getting rid of Sora. So I'm not that surprised, but I do think they're still finding their way. And they are definitely spending a lot to grow in the future. And it's just one way, I think, companies like this approach relative to an Anthropic, for example, that's probably been a bit more conservative. But I think it looks like they're not going to back down in terms of spending, and I don't think that means that much then for the broader semiconductor rise and other hard asset rise.
Yeah, Marta, how does that tee us up for earnings here this week with 5 of the Mag 7 reporting?
Well, the real test for those companies is whether not just their CapEx plans continue, but also whether we see the monetization. That's been the fly in the ointment for these companies, the idea that we're not necessarily seeing demand that fits the spending that they're doing. And so I think investors are going to have a close eye on what they say and what the numbers look like on that front.
Yeah. AI regulation. You think that's going to be on the table later this year? Is there a clock ticking, not just for policymakers and for Washington, but also for investors here?
I think it's a growing risk that's getting much too little attention. The reality is that Bernie Sanders has been calling for a breaking up of OpenAI. He's calling for it to be regulated. There's more and more concern about data centers and needing regulation. As you head to the midterms, the appearance that Democrats are ascendant and likely to take control of House and potentially the Senate, I think it's a much bigger risk that needs to be evaluated. Maybe not this year, Morgan, but after November.
Yeah, a lot of focus on central banks' decisions this week, too, Mark, including FOMC tomorrow. But perhaps the bigger news will be what happens with Senate Banking Committee moving forward Kevin Warsh's nomination and what that means for any kind of commentary or Powell announcing that he's going to step aside or retire with the end of his chair commitment.
It's hard to see Jerome Powell retiring until the IG investigation is completed, because I know that the DOJ putting this aside has cleared the path for Tillis to support Powell. But the IG can still recommend further investigation to DOJ. And so if you're Jerome Powell, why would you trust that and not continue to hold on to your seat until that IG investigation is completed?
That's a really key point. I don't know it's getting talked about enough. Stephanie, your thoughts on what we're getting from the Fed this week and or all of the other, I think it's 5 out of the G10 central bank countries making decisions this week?
I think we're in a period where, at least in the short term, inflation is going to remain elevated, and I just don't see them making any changes because while you have started to see some layoffs from companies coming through, it hasn't really hit the big numbers yet. And so I think they're just going to be on hold. And I think a lot of other central banks are going to be on hold because, as Lynn Alden said earlier in your program, this is not the best environment for a central bank to be able to control what happens on the inflation side, since it is supply driven.
Yeah, we got 10 seconds left. Marta, earnings this morning. Any final thoughts?
Listen, it's been a strong earnings season, so we're just looking to see whether we continue that trend or whether there's something that unravels it, but it doesn't seem likely at this point.
Okay, thank you to our call crew. Great to have you here. Squawk Box starts now.
Good morning. Big day. Corporate earnings. We're going to get results from GM